After years of grinding and putting in the work, you finally manage to save up enough money to spoil yourself and buy you a Rolex watch. But the problem is, when you get to the store, you are being told there's a 4-year waiting period for the watch you're looking for. But then, when you check online, you find a seller selling the same watch for half the price. But here's the catch. They don't have paperwork.
Oh, that darn paperwork. Wouldn't it be easier if it all just blew away?
But now, seeing the opportunity to save some cash and skip the waiting period, you end up buying the Rolex on the black market. But now, what do you do when you find out that the same Rolex you're wearing came off a dead man's hand? On this video, we'll be looking at the Rolex gang.
And now, a big question this evening, is the notorious Rolex gang back? Well, police certainly think so.
Police are under the whip to finally crack the so-called Rolex gang that seems to have re-emerged. Operation Gaumalawa was fast-tracked following the targeting and shooting of a 23-year-old man in Sandton.
Wearing a Rolex watch is a status symbol, but it can also make you a target. The Rolex gang modus operandi is to track down people who had recently purchased highly valuable items or are wearing expensive jewelry. Most times, the gang simply hangs around an upmarket mall, scouting for unsuspecting victims, dining at expensive restaurants or shopping at expensive boutiques. You see, criminals always have an inside person who will give them information on their victims. It could be the shop steward, sometimes it could even be the security guard. But for the most part, what they are looking for is a wrist with an expensive watch, a Rolex to be specific. Now, from 2010 to around 2019, there was an increase in the Rolex watch related robberies, and some of them resulted in the victims being badly injured or losing their lives. What usually happens is these people follow their victims from a shopping mall to their destination or where they will stop like a traffic light, and then the gang quickly uses that opportunity to rob the victims as quickly as they can because they don't want to attract attention. You see, the victims usually think they are being hijacked when it happens, and they are usually older, wealthy people. But make no mistake, anybody can get it. These guys usually drive nice cars, wear expensive clothes when they do these robberies. In doing so, people don't usually suspect them of being robbers. Unlike other gangs, the reason these guys go for Rolex watches is because they can make more money flipping a Rolex watch than a stolen car, or even dealing drugs for that matter. You see, they can get a quarter of the original price, even half of the price, when they sell it in the black market. Their online marketplace for watches is big, and you can remain anonymous if you know how to do it. Recently, former Chief Justice of South Africa, Sandile Ngcobo, was the latest victim of the notorious Rolex gang. Ngcobo was robbed of his timepiece worth 150k at gunpoint by the gang in September of 2022. The former judge, who served as Chief Justice between 2009 and 2011, sustained injuries to his face during the attack. He was driving from Sandton to his house in the same neighborhood when the gang got him. Ngcobo noticed a vehicle was following him but did not suspect anything bad was about to happen. When he arrived outside his house, he wanted to get out and open the gate, but suddenly had a loud bang at the back of his vehicle. He looked around and saw two men, one armed with a chrome firearm, approaching, went to the driver's door and smashed the window. The attacker then forcefully opened the door and dragged the old man out of the car and demanded that he take the watch off his wrist. Now, the old man tried to take off the watch but struggled for a while because he was terrified in that moment. The armed attacker then grabbed Ngcobo by the hand and forcefully removed the watch off his wrist. They then jumped into their getaway car and sped off. There was also another case of a couple from Las Vegas who was based in South Africa because of work. After 30 years of being here, they decided it was time to retire and go back home. They came back one last time to formally say goodbye to their friends and family, not knowing that would be the husband's last goodbye. That afternoon, they came from a mall when they were heading to Kyalami where they were staying, when they were robbed while they were waiting for the traffic light to turn green. A man who was driving in front of the victims saw the incident through his rearview mirror. Then he made a U-turn to record the crime on his dashcam while it was happening. The robbers, at gunpoint, they were struggling to take off the driver's watch, and the driver decided to reverse the car to try and get away. While the passenger was trying to help the driver, he was shot and killed, and the driver sustained gunshot wounds to the hand as she was trying to shield herself. These guys were notorious, especially in Johannesburg. Some members of the gang were finally caught in 2015 during a high-speed chase by the police in which one of the gang members, Clifford, was shot dead. A lawyer who was representing the gang had argued during the trial that his clients never shot at the police during the chase and that it was only Clifford who fired shots at the officers. The gang was found guilty of murder, robbery, and several other light charges. Now look, we don't know how many sets of the Rolex gang exist, or is it just one group of people doing all these crimes? Because even after some members were arrested, incidents of the same style type of crimes, they keep happening. So next time you think of getting a black market Rolex for flexing, make sure it didn't come off a dead man's hand. Ask for paperwork.